here is my halftime break beat. Here we go.
We gon' bring, we gon' make the mic. Somebody pass the beat. We gon' bring it back. If you can't find a seat, mama gon' save a plate. Everybody gonna eat. We gonna find a way. Ah, way.
All right. So that's the beat. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. This was pretty tough week, but I ended up relying on some sampling. So I sampled an Italian musician who made tons of music, and he made tons of music for like Italian movies. And I forget the guy's full name. I'm going to put it in the description after the video posts, but it's Piero, Piero something. If someone else could look up this dude's name while I'm talking and shove it in later. This guy is amazing. So I think he's probably been sampled a bunch. One of his songs was on the Ocean's 12 soundtrack. And I always love that soundtrack because it was just kind of like little cuts of music, like little 16-bar beats and stuff like that. So one of his songs is pretty amazing. And I use that as the main sample. And I'm going to play that sample really, really quick. But I did some time shifting to make this fit within the beat. So here is the song, just not really cut up. Here we go. Okay, so a couple of things there. One is I am in love with anything that has the harp within it. One of my favorite beats is Nas's Like, right? So that's produced by DJ Premier. And when you listen to that beat, there's like this random harp that's kind of just on a regular loop. And that is always kind of like mesmerizing to me. So I always try to find a way to use harp wherever I can, which is kind of hard. And in this sample, there is harp in the background. So what I did was I stretched this to fit within the BPM of 86 BPM. So here is the sample that I'm using. So you can hear this is pitched up. I'm up, I believe I'm up an octave from the regular from the regular pitch. So when you time stretch and you go up an octave, time stretching is still going to keep it within the right tune. So it's basically just fitting it within the time, but making it so it's still staying within the key, right? So that was pretty important. That was the main loop that I used. And then when you listen to that song, what's happening in the song is he's not quantized at all, right? This is music recorded in like the 70s or the late 60s. And the feel actually goes kind of like in time. It's like almost like a free tempo, right? They're kind of playing do 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 do. So you kind of feel in that song what's happening with especially the guitar players. He's kind of speeding up and slowing down throughout this song, and it gives it that like weird wavy kind of thing going on. So when I made this beat, I actually had to make sure that the drums were not quantized. So I actually had to play it out on the pads. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna solo the drums with the sample really quick, just so you could hear how it's not snapped to a grid. There's definitely throughout the song, all the percussion that was added, everything else is kind of just, you could hear that the kick is coming a little too quick or it's a little too late here and there. But after all the elements are added, then what's gonna happen is it's gonna kind of feel a little more human, right? So I'll play that together. Okay, I love beats that aren't quantized. That's, you know, definitely kind of a popular thing. I would say, you know, the last 15 years of hip hop music is stressing non-quantized beats. So there's a couple things. Most of the beat is not quantized, but then I added another hat and I actually snapped another hat to the grid, which is really cool because you get this interplay where the hat is kind of not quantized and then quantized feel. It's kind of like brushing up against each other. Now, right away, another cool thing about ThreeBeatsLater is that we're all learning from each other, right? So I actually took a method that education was teaching me about importing MIDI. Okay, so I actually took the beat that I wrote, saved it as MIDI, and then imported it into another bank. And I'll show you. So there's basically another complete drum set here. Okay. These are the drums. They have a lot of effects on them, right? So I took the same drum beat that I just created with one drum bank, saved it as MIDI, and then put it in and imported it into another drum bank. So what's happening is you're getting the beat being played on two different sets of drums. And I took the bank number 2 and dropped the level a lot. So what you're getting is the main beat and then some of this leftover weird stuff where the toms are being played where I originally played a hi-hat or I originally played a snare from the other bank. So I'll show you what that looks like really quick. I'm going to solo both of these together. So you could hear just the drums are kind of sounding a little, there's that echo from that second drum bank. So nothing is different happening. The same drum line is being played. It's just being played on two different drum sets. And the second drum set is lowered. And that's something that I was kind of playing around with since we talked from our last couple shows, and education was using layers where he's adding a snare, then he's adding kind of like a little shaker in that snare. So you're getting like, it's not just kick, hi-hat, snare, you're getting other things layered into each thing. Now, one of the coolest things that happened to me recently was I purchased a cabasa, which is this guy right here. Okay, it's an African instrument, and you hear it in Brazilian and Latin jazz as well. So I recorded this, and right away you might recognize, I think it reminds me of like a couple, maybe some Far Side music. I think they use the cabasa. I'll play it. So that gives you some rhythm, right? It gives you some, it's like a train chugging along, and it's a little bit of like, you feel that movement. Now you kind of are ready to move a little bit, right? So the cabasa adds that. The bass, I recorded live bass on this track, and I'll play the live bass just with the drums again, so you get to hear the bass line. I love this bass line. With bass lines, less is more, and this really gives the complete movement of the song. So here we go. Okay, so I love that feel. That's kind of like, I would call that your late 90s feel, just kind of like more or less boom bap with an extra little bit of rhythm in there. Okay. After that, now we're entering the world of what I love to do, which is create hooks, create melody lines, sing what you hear in your head. I am the #1 advocate for people who want to start writing hooks more and more. Please do that. You hear it in your head, record it on a mic. You know, maybe you could use it, maybe you could throw it away, maybe you could play it on a different instrument. But here, what you'll hear is a couple different vocal things that are going on. And I'm just going to play the drums, the bass, and the vocal line that you hear in the beginning of the song. So the whole idea was just to kind of pepper in some vocals. Here you go.
La 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 la.
Okay, so that gives you kind of, it plays off of the sample. I didn't play the sample there, but it's kind of like mysterious sounding, kind of weird. And then I created a chorus. The chorus is funny. Again, please, I am not a singer, so don't tear me apart, but I created a hook. And I gotta give a shout out to my wife, because we were talking about lyrics here. She kind of inspired me to write something in this vein. And it's really just about people sitting down to have food. So the end of the hook is just repeating kind of like something that would be a secondary hook. So it's almost like 2 hooks in here. I'm gonna play them both. Here we go.
We gon' bring, we gon' make the mic. Somebody pass the beat. We gon' bring it back. If you can't find a seat, Mama gon' save a plate. Everybody gonna eat. We gonna find a way.
Okay, wait, we're gonna find a way. Wait. All right, now we get to the halftime feel. Halftime feel is pretty straightforward, but the key is to remember that we are going to go from this chugging along beat at 86 BPM to having the snare hit later. It's gonna hit on the 3rd beat, and it's gonna sound a little bit more like you're entering like the trap world in a way, right? I didn't have a lot of time to work on this part of the song. I did qualify the challenge for the challenge, but I'm gonna sample just the 2 things. So there is another sample I'm using, and it's just harp, and that is actually another song from that Italian musician, which I loved. So I took that and just looped it over. There's some time stretching to make this fit within the specific range. So I will play it right from that second halftime break. So that's the loop, and it's just on the harp, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, right? So we're just looping that, playing the drums. I am kind of just adding some hi-hat rolls in there to make it interesting. I added the kabasa again, but I did the kabasa in a different way, which was just accenting on the every 8th beat. So here we go. So I'm thinking about it like a hi-hat, right? When you're playing the drums right here, every quarter note, I'm sorry. So it's I love that feeling on the drums when you hear a drummer that has the hi-hat kind of just halfway open, which is a tss, 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 tss. So we're not hitting that first snare on the 2, we're hitting the snare on the 3. Tss, tss, ka, tss, 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 ka. Okay, that's the whole idea behind this breakdown. Then what I did was I added bass, guitar, and a little bit of the vocals. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna play the guitar and I'm gonna play the bass together. The bass, I felt like an 808 should be here. So when I go and have more time with the song, I'm gonna mimic the bass line that I played on the bass and just put some 808. So it's gonna be really bassy and just do, 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 do. The guitar, I mimicked the earlier line I sang, which was way, 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 way. You'll hear it kind of playing on the guitar. So let's play that all together. Okay, and the bass is, I was clipping, you could see even in the audio there, like when I hit the low, boom, that was clipping, so that I need to re-record that. So bear with me, sorry, I didn't have enough time. The other thing was just to take the portion from the beginning part of the song where I go la 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 la, and make that almost stretch that a little bit out and sing that in a different way. So I'll just show you what I sang there so you could hear that. So you could even, you could think of that as an outro, right? You have the whole song going, and then at the very end, the last 20 seconds of the song, you hit this halftime feel outro, and that fades out. Or you can throw it in the middle of your song as a bridge, do something different in the middle of your song, or use it as an intro, whatever. The whole idea of this was to get us more comfortable playing around with regular time beats and then halftime beats.